Okay, as you may have all known, um, today's Friday, March the 6th, and RCMP Commissioner Rob Paulson has released a video of, well, sort of, you could say released a video of this Michael Bibo talking about apparently how he was going to commit this offense in Ottawa. But anyways, there's a lot of unanswered questions regarding this Ottawa shooting hoax. And I call it a shooting hoax because we proved that it is. And these are some of the questions that have not been covered so far, either by the police, the mainstream media, or anyone involved in investigating this thing. At least not publicly anyway. And the public needs to demand why these questions have not been answered. Okay. So I'm going to go over some of the questions, and I'd like to get an answer out of the politicians and the RCMP and the Conservative government why this has not been answered thus far to date, considering that the incident occurred way back in October of last year. Okay, so let's start with question number one. Where did Bibo get the gun? Okay. The gun used was an old antique rifle. It looked like it's from the 1800s. So my question is, where did he get the gun? Why did he use an old antique rifle instead of a more modern high-capacity military rifle? Which would have made more sense, you would think, if you were going to go on some type of a rampage. In that type of terrorist event, as they claim. Okay? So that in itself does not make any sense whatsoever. Okay? Where's the ballistics reports? Excuse me. Where's the ballistic reports from the shots fired that day? We haven't seen any. We haven't seen any ballistics reports whatsoever regarding the rounds fired. Where they ended up, any photos of the bullet holes where they ended up, because don't forget, they claimed that they fired 30 plus rounds down that parliamentary hallway that day. So where did they go? Okay, we don't have any evidence whatsoever regarding that. So the ballistics, its evidence itself is missing. As I said, where's the bullet holes from the 30 plus rounds that the RCMP allegedly fired down that parliamentary hallway? And everyone who's watched the video of the incident heard those shots, so we have to question, okay, where did they go? This is where we can prove regarding the video that we completed earlier, debunking the CBC's Evan Sullivan. There were also an additional 9 bullet holes around the corner from Sergeant-at-Arms Kevin Vickers' office. At least they claimed they were 9 bullet holes. What they actually turned out to be was 9 rivet holes. And we proved this because we went back to 2013 and we found a parliamentary video which gave you a tour of the Parliament itself. And if you look at that video, it shows that these rivet holes were there, and that they had actually held up some type of sign or mural that was there previously. So the so-called 9 bullet holes were actually fake bullet holes, and were actually rivet holes that were there a long time ago, since 2013. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Why was the RCMP and Ottawa police on scene prior to the event even occurring? And we have photographic evidence of this. A parliamentary assistant apparently took a bunch of photos from a window inside Parliament showing the large gathering of police vehicles outside Parliament Hill. around the perimeter area. And you have to question, why was this? Why does this is not a natural occurrence? So why were they there 15 minutes prior to the event even occurring? So this is obviously signs that this whole thing was staged. Okay. And why did the parliamentary assistant who reported this actually fear for their life? They claimed that they were quite scared about reporting it because they feared the repercussions that may occur. And we have this on video evidence actually. So again, you can check Jeff C's video, Free Radio Revolution, his YouTube channel, and we have all that evidence laid out there. Okay. Here's another good question. Why were the mainstream media network cameramen and reporters, why were they not cleared out of the Parliament hallway during that shootout? Okay. Why would the RCMP endanger their lives by allowing them to remain and stay there? And the only answer, of course, I could think of was because they needed them to stay there to justify this whole hoax, this whole staged event. They wanted them to capture all this on camera, this whole theatrical production. Otherwise, the general procedure would be that you evacuate everyone, every civilian, out of the area anytime there's a perceived possible threat, that you would evacuate the whole building, including the MPs, including the cameramen, and everyone else who's non-essential to the threat, to engaging the threat, which would mean only police services would be allowed to remain within the building. And that was not done. So you have to question why it was not done. Okay? Because that's very piss poor security protection if you allow people to remain, within the danger zone of the shootout itself. Okay. So pretty poor policing and response, tactical response in that regard. Okay, question 3. Where is the autopsy reports? Now you would think a coroner would release a public statement, or at least the coroner would release the report to a police public spokesperson regarding all the injuries that occurred that day. So again, why was there no coroner report and public statement regarding how many rounds had actually hit Bebo, and where was he hit as a result of that alleged shootout with the RCMP and Vickers in that hallway? Where is the evidence that anyone was shot? Okay, we have claims that Cirillo was shot. We have claims that Bebo was shot. Where is the direct forensic evidence to prove all that? Okay, we have not seen a shred of evidence to prove any of that. Okay, the fake CPR. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the video, we centered on the CPR that a group of people performed with Nathan Cirillo, a couple of which were allegedly soldiers in uniform, and a woman who apparently worked in Parliament who was giving him mouth-to-mouth. Now the question was regarding the CPR. You can see this fake CPR in the video. You see the woman blowing into his mouth, and you see one of the males supposedly pumping his chest. But what was really happening was you see his hands off to the right side of Cirillo's body, and were not even on his chest at the time, because Cirillo's hands were folded and covering his chest at the time, which makes no sense whatsoever during a CPR incident. You don't You don't allow the man's hands to cover his chest where you have to pump it, where you have to do the compressions. Okay. And the other abnormality during that CPR procedure was the fact that she was blowing into his mouth while the male was pumping his chest at the same time. Okay. Now, in a real life scenario, if you do that, you're going to kill the patient. Okay, because they need to breathe, and they can't breathe if you're pumping their chest and someone's breathing into their mouth at the same time. That's a sure way to suffocate them to death. Okay, so there's the discrepancy regarding the fake CPR. Okay, so these were obviously either crisis actors or they sure as hell did not know how to perform CPR.